Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last panel discussion of the 19th Annual Banking Conference, and it's going to be a very enticing one. As this topic is aligned with the theme of this event, and the topic for the CEO panel discussion is Building AI-Enabled Bank in the Digital Era. It's my privilege to invite on stage the panel of speakers for this session. Shri C.S. Sethi, Managing Director, State Bank of India. Shri Atul Kumar Goyal, MD and CEO, Punjab National Bank. Shri Sunil Mehta, Chief Executive, Indian Banks Association. Shri Debadatta Chand, MD and CEO, Bank of Baroda. Shri Hitendra Dave, CEO, HSBC Limited. Shri R. Subramanya Kumar, MD and CEO, RBL Bank. And our moderator for this session, Shri Piyush Dalmia, Senior Partner, McKinsey & Company. Over to you, Mr. Dalmia.
Thank you. Thank you to IBA and to all the panelists for taking the time. Clearly, AI is a buzzword. We heard assisted AI, Gen AI, ethical AI, responsible AI, AI in different shapes and forms. But whichever way we look, and in whichever shape and form, AI is, of course, everywhere. We have close to about 40-odd minutes, so without ado, I'll get straight into the conversation. We have an illustrious sort of panel here. Hopefully, we'll talk about the opportunities, but also the challenges and the constraints that come along with AI. Mr. Sethi, if I can start with you. Bank, clearly 25,000 branches, 200,000 plus employees, 500 million customers. How do you really think about leveraging AI across various aspects of your strategy?
Yeah, thanks to IBA and to have invited me here. Pleased to answer that question. I think we have to look at the approach we want to follow towards AI. Our approach has always been that enterprise level AI is something what we want to pursue, which you mentioned in terms of the magnitude of the bank. Requires that you need to have an approach which is enterprise-wide. And also, while we have identified some use cases for generative AI, we've been using AI for quite some time. Probably we were one of the large banks which have used AI models for both for the business as well as risk management, fraud prevention for quite some time. So I think the adoption of AI in SBI is significant. The models which we have developed have paid us good dividend. For example, we have a flagship product called pre-approved person loan, which is essentially based on the AIML models. And we also, apart from thinking about enterprise level AI, we have implemented what is called, I think Mr. Patel, IBM had very lucidly explained about the responsible AI. We have a board-approved responsible AI policy, where we believe that ethical AI and model testing, prevention of data drift, so many other things are taken care of at the individual level. I think broadly I addressed you, setting the context for your discussion.
Very, very helpful context, Mr. Sethi. If I might go to the other spectrum, Mr. Dave, if I can bring you in, other end of the spectrum from a physical network, infrastructure perspective, of course, much constrained in terms of number of branches, et cetera, you have. How are you thinking about AI in your context?
So I think there is lots of excitement, lots of talk. There is also lots of reservations. Not everybody in the organization is fully convinced, but our sense is this is a development around which we want to remain close, right? I don't think we want to discard its potential, nor do we want to fully embrace what we, because some of the talk of lots of technologies were supposed to transform us. If you go back 10, 15, 20 years, the whole system was supposed to change. It has changed in some cases and it hasn't changed in some cases. So I think a few things from us. I think this, first of all, I think the entire senior leadership of the organization is being trained on this subject. Okay, so without that, we don't want to leave it to the technologists and we don't want to leave it to our IT people. They will play a critical role, but there is a great sense that who shepherds them, who guides them, who works for them will be the top management. I think in the session with Mr. Patel of IBM, there is a lot of focus also on the ethics and the governance and the framework and the guardrails that need to be built. We are also, as a generic principle, we will use it more internally to begin with. So there's a lot of work internally which could get more productivity enhancing if we just use AI. So that's maybe the areas for us. Contact center, chatbots. But again, to use Mr. Patel's words, I think if the person is not talking to a human being, but the voice is like that of a human being, we want to be transparent that you are not talking to a human being. If you would like to talk to a human being, then press this or press that, that kind of a thing. So external use cases have been identified, but we want to be quite cautious before taking them out. What data we let the machines ingest for us, that again we are agreeing on. Once we are all agreed that this data injection cannot cause subsequent problems, we'll give it to that. For example, our entire credit policy we are planning to give, which is and then, then you will get the approvals faster. These are few examples from my side.
I think it's a great point. I think you're differentiating between how you're thinking about AI internally within the bank and how you want to be slightly more thoughtful and cautious as you think about external application that from a customer perspective. Mr. Goel, in fact, if I can bring you in that context, we would love to hear from a strategy to maybe something slightly more specific. If there is an example, a moment of truth, something that really brought to bear the value of AI to you in the context of the bank, either customer experience, growth, example would be very helpful to bring it to life.
Thank you very much. As far as PNB is concerned, last 2 years, basically, lot of work has been done for the digital transformation as well as the technology upgradation. Your specific question regarding the AI, as Mr. Sethi has also told, there is so many used cases. So I will give the only one example in the last 1 year, which basically we have done use of the AI or the ML also, because we are having so much of the customer base. We are one of the largest bank of the country, 10,000 branches, 1 lakh employee, then huge customer base we are having. So we have used the AI, how make the use of the customer experience, customer behavior by using this data and by using of the data analyticals also. So by making the data analytical, we could reach to conclusion ki which type of the product we can sell to the customer also to increase the top line, bottom line also. So last year, whatever we seen this, although Mr. Sethi has told this PAPL, basically it is based on the based on the AI, because we have so many parameter everything we are using by the CIC. Then use of this particularly databases. So I will give example also the June 22. See the power of the digital and the use of the AI. The outstanding in June 22 hardly was only 22 crore rupees for this. It is not for a 1 day, it is a cumulative outstanding. Then by using the data analytics and the use of the AI, etc. also, from June 22 to till date, more than 6,300 crore rupees we have sanctioned. And today is the outstanding more than 4,500. And the delinquency is also very minimum, whatever we have estimated. So this is the very moment of truth for us, how you can make the use of the AI in the organization.
It's a great example, Mr. Goel, not just only about disbursing more, but the point that you made on delinquency. Actually, AI allowed you to ensure that the delinquency and the portfolio quality was also of the right order as well. Mr. Chand, Mr. Kumar, if I can also ask you the same question, if there's an example that you can really share with the group, what really stands out for you in your organization of an instance of use of AI that you thought really was remarkable?
Yeah, thanks, Piyush. In fact, as far as Bank of Baroda is concerned, we have been using AI for last 5 years. And as on today, I do have more than 50 use cases in terms of distinctly 3 identified blocks. The first application is more with regard to the customer segmentation part, where all cross-sell, up-sell, the attrition, everything is mapped out through AI extensively. But obviously, all these are within the guardrails, because then there is some responsive AI is being discussed. So within the guardrails, we are using extensively with regard to the customer segmentation. The second aspect which is very important for AI for me is with regard to the customer experience part. And as Mr. Dave also was talking about, there is a huge disruption in terms of the way that the telecenters or the call centers were being used earlier. We use voice bots extensively, and rather we are in a stage of running through the pilot with regard to generative AI on the customer service, and maybe I can say that maybe a couple of months' time we'll move to production quickly. The third important aspect which is very important for us to use AI is with regard to the risk management and fraud risk management. All my behavioral models with regard to ALM, all this fraud risk management with regard to the entire things are also AI based. And also extensively we use the AI in the collection and the recovery modules. So we as a bank have been, it's almost a journey of last 5 years, a lot of insight with regard to the experiences, we have captured it well. Obviously, AI, whenever we use the word AI, there has to be a responsive AI is very critical. We do have guardrails. All our 5 years journey has been well documented. The aspect that we need to evolve going forward is that how do you again structure the AI in the light of the DPDP, the data protection bill. At the same time, currently AI is not based on regulation, it's based on the best practices. So like the digital lending which Seti Saab talked about, in our case the customer onboarding on the digital lending is AI based, whereas the decision making is a rule based. So we avoid like a error happening on the AI, then who is accountable? That's the issue that we need to debate. But we as a bank has been extensively using AI for last 5 years and continue to do. But some of the aspects which require a critical thinking in terms of how to protect, be more responsive, data privacy is very important. Those are the things that we keep on evolving over a period of time.
I'm very glad, Mr. Chand, you made the distinction between rule-based and AI. In a lot of instances, rules are also considered as AI itself. I think it's a very important distinction that you sort of made as you talked about that experience. Mr. Kumar, if I can bring you in on that point, on your experience as well.
Thank you. See, when we just started thinking about this AI as an adoption a couple of years before, the model what we wanted to evolve is on a simple philosophy that have a curiosity of a child, maturity of an adult, and energy of youth, right? And underlying principle, what we wanted to do is it should not be discriminatory, because the bias gets into the system whether you like it or not, because the set of the guys who are working on it tend to move in a direction of their understanding of it. So we wanted to eliminate this bias, which is a pretty difficult proposition to do, easy said than done, when IBM themselves cannot find a solution for it, and where were we? So this is the one which we wanted to eliminate as a model. Keeping these things into consideration, we took a deep dive into where we can do, which will provide us some of the use cases which will be in a position to provide us a benefit to the bank as well as to the end user of the services. So the first thing which pop up as some of the co-panelists mentioned about it, the one thing which pops up is the customer engagement and the customer experience. If we need to give a customer experience better, we need to have a product journey is to be the first step in order to bring that particular engagement in. So we started looking at how we will be able to leverage AI. When I talk about AI, ML is synonymously used. Let me not rise the hype of the people here saying that AI, which is going to be replaced an intelligence of a human, which isn't. So when we use it, we will be interchangeably using ML, right? So analytics is the base, the algorithm-based analytics, because we have a huge set of data. If we have to analyze it and get a result out of it, by then the needle would have moved, the result may not be to the point what we want to do. So first we started applying the algorithm onto the data and developed models. The models especially for the purpose of seeing that which customer is the right customer to be approached and what sort of the pricing we have to do. What sort of the risk reward we will be able to do. That's the exact area we started working on. That started giving us a fair amount of result in a sense. Any changes which we see, very simple example I can tell you, the last year we had elections in 5 different states. Our model was able to predict and say that pull back your disbursement in these states and move up with your collections. This is the outcome of the model. I'm not telling you the detail of it, which resultantly provided us enough breathing space in respect to delinquencies. Delinquencies were very well controlled and it provided us. The second set, what we decided was that first, the set of people who provide the customer experience is our internal staff. So we have started focusing on how we can leverage this AI and ML for the purpose of our internal staff. We have created an RBL Genie. See, the functioning of the RBL is slightly different from the rest of the panelists who are sitting here. We have verticalized, we have specialized sales forces in the respective word. If you intend to leverage the investment in the resources, you need to have the cross-selling of the product. So the product knowledge imbibing across 29,000 people is going to be next to impossible. So you need to have an RBL Genie, which just popped up. We have an app which will be in a position to direct them and then help them to achieve what they otherwise will take around a days for getting it. So that is a place where we have started deploying it in a big way. We saw very good result in the sense that a sales guy who is in a position to be interacting with an HNI will be in a position to talk at least not depth. He will not be found wanting in giving information. The Genie was helping them out. That we are just extending it to our little collections and predictive, because we have huge collection. On average, around half a million customers are to be reached out for the collections of the credit card, microfinance, and other retail products which we have, which is around 60% of my total business. 500,000 customers reaching and then getting them is going to be a huge challenge. You need to have ABC analysis and find it out. Here, our AI started punching in predictive analytics. We were able to forecast maybe in 0 DPD or 30 DPD to precisely say that who are all the people to be intensively approached and which are the set of geographies where you need to have a lot of foot soldiers, which are the people who can be rightly brought onto that payment side through your call centers. This brought down the cost, and it is enormously improved efficiency. The latest one, which we are just making a lot of inroads, is our bringing efficiency in NOC, because we have centralized operations. Automation, of course, that's the first step everyone will be looking at as an AI, as an assistant. This has a huge, enormous opportunity there. We have started it in a small way. Maybe down the year, we will be in a position to see some visible improvement in efficiency, which in turn is going to increase the productivity.
It's again, fascinating, Mr. Kumar. I think you talked about several areas: ops, collections, product knowledge for your sort of outbound sales teams. Those are absolutely fascinating areas. But I think as we move beyond individual banks, and Mr. Mehta, if I can sort of bring you in here as the overall sort of responsible for Indian banking organization, as the CEO of the industry body, what are the cross-cutting initiatives? How do banks need to collaborate more amongst themselves so that they can leverage the power of AI much more? Are there specific things that you can do, that you think that the industry body can do, or banks collectively can do, that they individually can't do?
So I think you have touched upon a very relevant point. IBA itself provides a platform. Yeah. And this is one of the platforms where we are discussing all these issues. This brings together the knowledge of various, like you have got a large bank like SBI sitting here, the second largest like PNB sitting here, private sector banks and the foreign banks. So we share the knowledge, their experience into the product, because everything has got a pros and cons. So it is deliberated upon, and that is a collective wisdom we take a on. As regards collaborative piece, yes, we have a collaborative system. Like for public sector bank, we have got a PSB alliance where some of their activities where we can aggregate and do it together, so that the economies of scale can be taken. And then through this awareness series, we create awareness among all our member banks, including private sector and the foreign banks. As regards collaboration, I think the peer learning is the best method. Peer learning is best method because nobody need to invent the wheel again. If some bank has already learned few lessons, others can build on it and save that cost of experimenting on that. The IBA is providing that opportunity, that how do we share that knowledge and see. And then artificial intelligence, of course, the banks have started using it. In future, they will be benefited because the type of the volume of the transaction and the way the financial industry is expanding, the use of artificial intelligence will be necessary. And determining the consumer behavior, the prediction of the default like PDs, and then to understand what type of services and goods they want, what they like and what they don't like, and then there can be integration of their transaction behavior with their social behavior through social media, and then all that can be built up and simulated and created, and artificial intelligence can help in supplementing the human intelligence in interpreting those behaviors into serviceable goods and services that the banking industry can provide. So I think there is a lot of scope of collaboration within the bank, depending upon the each segment and the stage of journey they are at present.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta, first of all, for providing the platform through IBA, I think, for this topic. Maybe, I think in the interest of time, I'll switch the gear a bit, talk a bit more about the challenges as well. I think the opportunities are well understood. Mr. Sethi, again, if I can ask you to set context to the conversation, and if I can first start with a very specific topic of talent, because that's a critical ingredient as banks sort of embark on this journey. How are you seeing talent, particularly banks' ability to acquire talent, retain talent in this specific area? In your context, of course, I think there's also the public sector specific context as well. It'll just be helpful to understand how you're thinking about talent.
So, of course, talent is an issue, whether it's public sector or private sector. One thing what public sector banks are doing is that we are not hesitant to pay the top pays, if the right talent is available. I think pay is not a real constraint. I think a lot of people assume that public sector banks probably will not be able to pay the money what the market expects. Today, we have largest number of data scientists in SBI. Apart from pay, I also believe that the talent looks for challenges. And nobody can give you a platform like public sector banks with the data to play with, right? And there's no dearth of opportunities to show their talent, develop the models. Lot of models what we currently do, including a few use cases for Gen AI, are internally developed by State Bank of India, by our own talent. And I'm sure, I think the narrative what we have to give is that what is that you are providing to them a platform. The challenge is definitely, in terms of the retention, if you don't give those platforms to them. And also the freedom to experiment, freedom to come with models and ideas which, value accretive. I think that has helped us to retain the talent, and our attrition rate among them is not significant. The second thing is that if you are only looking at a handful of people to have this talent, it's going to be difficult. Much of the ideation for use cases have to come from the business themselves, right? So how do we develop the, appreciation of the AI across the bank at various levels, including the leadership? The leadership buy-in is extremely important for AI adoption in the organization. So today in SBI, for example, we mandate that everybody has to go through a certified course of learning on the AI. They are encouraged to learn something about AI. And I think a combination of a talent pool, which is specifically focused on developing the models, and a larger, wider appreciation of the importance of AI for the organization in terms of use cases, in terms of design and thinking itself, is extremely important to attract the talent and retain it.
Yeah, Mr. Sethi, one of my friends who's a very senior data scientist once told me that if ever he could work at SBI with the quantum of data that is available, that's like almost part of his, it's like dreamland for him.
Yeah, I think this is what we keep on hearing from our data scientists. I keep asking, what makes you to stay back? They say that it's a great challenge which we are thrown at, which actually motivates them to stay.
Absolutely. Mr. Goyal, I think talent, of course, I think we should touch upon, but any other challenges that you think today banks face, whether it's data quality, whether regulatory, which inhibits your ability to fully leverage the power of AI?
Piyush, challenges and the risk. Definitely, when there is an opportunity, there is a challenges also. If I am giving some of the challenges or the risk also, first I want to say the organization should be in a position to manage those risks because solution is available. model is available. If you are just thinking only for the risk, and if you are not in a position to manage the risk also, then there is no idea to, you should not introduce the product also. So, lot of risky challenges is there. One is the cyber security risk is there, because there is maybe a phishing attack, there may be a phishing attack, so many attacks may be there. Even the cyber criminal is more intelligent there, but doesn't mean that you are not in a position to manage this. There is a system available as on date. Another is the operation risk may be there. If you are going for more digital transaction also, there is operation risk. Sometimes there is a downtime, etc. Even some of your link is failure, sometimes other type of the risk, because maybe there. Even the other risk like the financial risk. Suppose you have made a lot of investment. If you are not getting the desired return of your investment, that is also another risk. The data privacy is one of the major challenges in data also, because once we are talking about the AI, we are using the data of the customer for making which type of the product, which type of the customer, which type of the behavior they are using. So we are using some solution also. So there is also a risk, so you have to maintain in your system in such a way that there should not be any leakage of the or breakage of the data also. Even the other risk is also there, like suppose you are, even we want to manage also, because there is a method, the compliance team, the risk management team is there. So there should be a sufficient mechanism in the organization. Challenge definitely will be there, so, but the organization should be sufficient to manage those risks also.
Any other panelists would want to chime in on the challenges?
I'll take a couple of things. See, the challenges, I just wanted to make it in three different parts. You rightly said about the talent challenge is the biggest challenge. No doubt about the fact that today you think that I have the best of the team here. When you come back the next day and then open the thing, a couple of them would have been moved on to a competitor or moved on elsewhere. That's the reality. So if the reality is there, there is no point in mulling over the same point and try to how do I solve it. The only way to solve is a collaboration, right? You collaborate with the set of the teams who have an ability to retain the talent or who capture the talent, work with them together. This is one, it is mutually helpful to each other. You give the domain, you give the data, the rest of the teams is able to give you the talent to the extent. It cannot address completely, but it can partly address or it will attempt to address the issue of the challenge. We have to face it and move on. I see much bigger challenge in terms of the data. The quality of the data, it is going to be the biggest challenge. Today, AI is coming out, the ML is coming out, it is visualized as this data, it is a biased experience. Tomorrow, whether it has an ability to differentiate between the quality and incorrect, true and false, correct and fake. Today, you wanted to give a voice bot in front of you, there is every possibility the second day, but there is a parallel industry is working for deceiving every act of yours. Are we ready to challenge those parallel industries is going to be the biggest challenge what we see. So you have to be, if you think that you are 2 steps ahead, they are 4 steps ahead already. So that's the biggest challenge. So there has to be a little more, this is what when our Mehta was talking about industry collaboration, you need to have a broader, sensible collaboration within industries and within the financial service providers also. It has to be much broader like that.
I think, if I can just add there, I think the risk is senior most bankers cannot be very close to this subject, right? We just weren't brought up during these times. We think we know we will do governance of a subject, which is, AI has been there for many years, but it's the generative form of AI which has made all this play. We are all here because of the last 15 months, not because of the last 10 years or so. And I think, since you asked what are the challenges, I think could be that senior, the boards and the executive committees, they think they are governing, they think they've got the guardrails, they think they've got the ethics right, because it is their best sense of it on a subject. So I think one of the challenges would be you will have to have people with that background or understanding, which is deeper than what the normal senior management has, as an equal weight in the senior most ranks of the company. And at this juncture, the tech companies have it, right? But the financial companies still, I think there is a journey, is my sense.
It's a very interesting point, Mr. Dave, that you bring, which is, it's really also, I think, the senior leadership and how much they're able to guide and how much they're able to also fully appreciate necessarily always the challenges that are sort of going to come. Mr. Chand, if I can bring you in at that point, as you think about your interactions with your top team or your board, so either ways, particularly on this topic, how do you think about that? What do you really sort of, do to ensure both your board and top team is up to date with the topic and really up the curve as far as managing risks as well as opportunities from AI is concerned?
That's fair. Actually, as far as the board is concerned, there is a IT steering committee of the board continuously looking into aspect relating to the usages, the benefit thereon. So as far as we are concerned, the board is quite abreast with regard to the changes happening. In terms of the usage that, as I said, that we have been using AI for last 5 years. So that gives me huge data points in terms of how do I conduct in terms of the AI usage. So as far as we are concerned, we have the challenges really, just to add on to the earlier point, as on today, all the AI usages is based on the best practices. And the regulation has not evolved so far. And the moot point is that in case there is a failure of AI, who is accountable? The same thing is a human case you can easily make out. So that's something we need to evolve on that. And it requires bit of huge, what you can say, oversight of the board and the top management. We as a bank do have those oversight because actively we are using all these AI tools aggressively in many of the tools. Particularly, I give an example, small example. Like in my calling system, earlier any customer trying to reach out to us and the time used to be significant. Sorry to admit that it was as high as even 25 minutes. Now significantly we have brought it down because of the AI usage. The same time, the best part of the AI is that there is a sentiment index attached to it to figure out when a customer talking to me, is he talking in an angry mode or slightly on a satisfied mode. So these are the things you can't get it unless and until you have the usage of AI there. So we as a bank, we do have a framework. We do have board oversight on the entire matter and continuously evolving in terms of how to improve the process further.
And Mr. Mehta, if I can request you to maybe talk a bit about what are the overarching themes and challenges that you hear from the industry collectively? Of course, individual banks will have their own challenges, own opportunities, but are there 2-3 themes that you are picking up collectively from the banking industry?
So we all are talking about artificial intelligence, and but I'll subscribe to a few of the ideas which has been deliberated upon by the previous speaker. And one is artificial intelligence is to supplement the human intelligence and not to replace the human intelligence. And that's a very primitive and important aspect of it. The another aspect is artificial intelligence can equally be used on a negative way also. Because it can, with the data privacy bills now in operation, we will have to use that, what extent we can utilize the data for predicting a human behavior. Will it put a check on the privacy of an individual or not? And I think the rules of Data Privacy Act are yet to be formed, so that is also going to be. At an IBA level, we are deliberating upon bring those who are created these rules and then the forming, so that how it will impact our business processes. In which areas we should use the artificial intelligence, where we should desist from him, we should allow the privacies of an individual customer. So that is a challenge where banks will have to think that everything you cannot think in terms of business only. We will have to see it in terms of human life and ethics also, because sometimes you can say if you get messages in the night and all that. So it creates a substance. That's artificial intelligence. If it is too predictive, then it becomes a lot of challenging thing from this. And the third important aspect, which rightly said by Subramaniam also, is security threats. Like artificial intelligence, the hackers and that, they are smarter than us. Yeah. And if they hack these systems and our artificial intelligence, then I think there is no limit of damage that can happen to the industry. So there you have to find out a more sophisticated way of safeguarding your data and their processing capabilities, and especially artificial intelligence, so that it cannot be used. Like the same robot is not used for killing a people instead of creating a work for the people. So there are movies also which show that how a computer can go out of the control and then create miseries for the life. Robots and they can, because they run on the artificial intelligence, so it can be equally detrimental. So every technology where it offers a very positive side of it, there is a scope that it's of its misuse also. And I think the industry is to closely work the extent of uses of AI, nature of product, services, giving the due protection to the consumers and their data, and providing a platform where it's ethically used with adequate security guards are created in the system, and we are closely working for it.
If I can supplement to what Mr. Mehta has said, since your question, about what could be the industry level challenges, I think AI also requires significant investments in infrastructure. So far, most of the banks, including SBI, either have been using on-prem solutions or at the most private cloud. We extensively use private cloud, of course. So to have an equitable development of AI adoption in the industry, we all know that most of the AI tools are more agile on the public cloud, and the tools can be, much better utilized if they are cloud-based. The adoption of cloud itself is patchy as we speak. We have our own apprehensions, inhibitions of using the public cloud. So one option could be that, whether IBA has been contemplating to have a community cloud, for instance. So that could be one thing. Or as RBI announced to have a financial cloud, I may even tempted to call it a sovereign cloud, where most of the banks probably, particularly large public sector banks, would like to use that opportunity of moving many applications. While we have our own roadmap to move to the cloud, this will accelerate the cloud adoption, and the biggest outcome of that cloud adoption would be the adoption of AI itself. I think this is one thing which I request both the stalwarts sitting here to evaluate and take the issue forward.
You're giving the industry a new term, Mr. Sethi: private cloud, public cloud, sovereign cloud.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sovereign cloud will come into force as well. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock as well. I was told that I need to be responsible with my time. With that, the conversation on responsible AI. I think the speaker before also sort of mentioned about responsible AI. And given this is an important topic, if I can request each of the panelists to contribute to that, maybe Mr. Kumar, starting with you, on how do you think about governance and ethical/responsible AI? What are the boundaries you think banks can cross today versus not cross?
See, it's a pretty tough one to do right now, in a sense, because the AI, if I just look at it, you have to consider that as a co-pilot. Any journey which I wanted to start into the AI has to be first a co-pilot. I can't hand over that, my control to that of the AI to start with. It's the first governance principle we want to establish. Because normally there is a mindset, the moment you have an automated, and I think computer will never fail, computer will never make a mistake, computer will never tell a lie, white man will never tell a lie. That's why we have been grown up in our childhood. We never feel that. The first governing principle is that, yes, it is going to be a failure. If fails, what is our alternative for us? Most of us lose our sight of the fact the moment it is automated, how do I transact in the absence of that automation? That's going to be. So AI, if I have a predictive analytics, if I have customer IC, whatever we are trying to do, if it fails for a minute, or fails for a day, or fails for a week, how will I be able to run my governance? That's going to be the first guardrail which we have to step up. We can't hand over. So that's why I said that the first it has to be a co-pilot as far as, then only the takeoff and the landing will be smooth. The second important guardrail which is required is that acceptance of the pitfalls when we are talking about the positivity right from the board level to the top management level and across. If you want the board to appreciate it, their knowledge level has to be brought up. The first governing principle is that they have to be well aware or fairly aware. Well aware may not be a right proposition to say. Fairly aware about what are all the sidekicks or the effectiveness or ineffectiveness or the problems. If you are able to understand the risk very deeply, and if you are able to appreciate that, probably the shocks and the challenges which you will be having it will be a little less down. Third important thing as a governance principle one has to do is that instead of asking a simple question, I have a feeling that everybody will ask, what AI can do for me? That's not the right way of asking. How I can use the AI, that should be you have to flip the question and ask how I can use the AI. The moment I say what AI can do, some of the fintechs will say this can do this, this can do this. You are handing over the steering wheel to it. So that should be the first one. How I can use AI in my given circumstances would be another fair question to be asked from the top, which will put situations fairly under control. The third important thing is that you need to constantly evolve yourself. You should be a challenger yourself. Unless you are a challenger by yourself, I don't think that we'll be able to face the challenges of the AI. What can I do? How can I do? What is it? Otherwise, what will happen? You have a lot of tech guys outside. A lot of fintechs are available. Some of them are bubble. Some of them are in the cloud. I mean, their own cloud of thinking that I have got a better solution. How they are going to be integrated in your system is more important rather than how my system is going to use them. So the governing principle, if you are able to cover some of these things, so that will be a starting point. And again, it's an evolving. The bank itself has a very solid structured governance. It has to fit in a subset of the governance practices of the banking rather than it has a separate governance.
So fair. That's a very, very fair thought, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Dave, maybe I think we can just go into sequence on that question.
No, I think, see, we have various risk committees and subcommittees of the board. It will have to start there, right? So I'm sure some of the banks that are more advanced on this subject already have some form of proper governance, including independent directors and executive directors getting specifically up-tiered in their knowledge, right? Because it is something like I mentioned in the earlier, I think not every senior banker can claim to be fully up to speed on the developments here, including the ethical issues and the guardrail issues and the risks that can go and the real life cases that all of us are reading about every day of artificial intelligence becoming a little rogue by itself, right? Because it's generative. You give it a bad answer, it takes up the bad answer as part and parcel of a conversation. It's not mature enough today to make out that this is not a good answer, right? So it starts there. I think certainly the top management, I'll repeat, I think needs to take ownership of this. It needs to embrace it, own it, drive the upside of it, but also be aware of the downside of it. I think from a governance perspective, certainly it should go through a proper filter of what information of the institution will you allow that system to ingest. Like, I don't think we are ready to have the co-pilot in every desktop in the bank. And with all of us feeding in all the bank data there, and that then information traveling through the entire system, you want it to be controlled, you want there to be, just as you have approvers of loans, you have to have approvers who will decide what information that you possess, do you want that system to ingest, and for what reason, and what is the expectation, and do it in a closed user group. So just as we launch any major, significant new initiative with board, downward, lots of checks, lots of controls, outlook, but in this process, I think we will eventually get there when we can have mass rollout. Right now we are thinking of use cases, but why is everybody being cautious about even rolling out those use cases? There is a good reason, right? None of us have the final answers.
Absolutely.
Already I addressed some of the oversight issue, but then as far as we as the user we are concerned, clearly we are looking at two things very clearly. We are running all our AI based on best practices as on today and well documented as on today. But we are mindful of two scenarios going forward. One is with regard to the compliance of AI usage vis-a-vis the Data Privacy Act and Bill. At the same time, the regulation that can come subsequent to this in terms of AI. But clearly, as far as we are concerned, the framework is clearly laid out, defined, and there is a strong oversight on that.
Fantastic. Mr. Mehta, you sort of addressed the point already to some extent. Maybe I'll ask Mr. Goel and Mr. Sethi to sort of contribute as well. In case you want to add more, Mr. Mehta, please do.
No. I'll totally subscribe to yes, it's a very important technical tool which is now available, and I think IBM very rightly said that responsible AI. So the responsible means then how much to use, and then we have to as an industry see what are the use cases that can be created, do's and don'ts, where we don't have to enter into the space, and especially keeping in mind the data privacy what Mr. Chand was telling right now. So these are the major factors which the industry will have to embrace, and the deliberation which is happening today will give a thought, food for thought for the participants. Yes, this is where we should enter into, and this is where we should restrict ourselves so that the human privacy is equally maintained while offering products and services.
Yeah, I think the privacy point is more and more becoming sort of relevant. I guess everybody in the room, including folks on the dais, basically sort of get 5 calls every day, which is not clearly sort of appreciated by the end customer as well. But Mr. Goel and Mr. Sethi, maybe last word from you on the topic.
I fully subscribe the views of my previous speaker also. They have told so many things also. But one more thing I would like to add is now, because when we are using the artificial intelligence, the one more thing, vendor due diligence is also very, very essential. Whatever Mr. Dave has told, it has to be from the top management to the which you have to use, which data you have to use, which data you have to give. So vendor due diligence also is one of the very important challenges for this year.
I would like to be a little specific in the sense that most of the AI governance is all about the model development, model life cycle review, and how model misbehavior has to be assessed. I think this is the specific risk which every AI governance should be having as a central point. For instance, in SBI, the models, AI model, any model for that matter, whether it is a risk model, whether it is a business model, whether it is a tool for fraud prevention, they're all approved at the highest committee level. And where the committee has to be explained that what is the data source, how the data is captured, and which are the end users who are going to be impacted. So this is very important at the time of model approval itself. And also during the model life cycle, we also notice that there is the concept called data drift. What happens, when you want to implement, you suddenly realize that after some time, the model is not giving the outcome what you actually anticipated. How do you prevent that data drift if you don't have the model review periodically? I think these are extremely important to have. I'm sure almost all the banks which have adopted AI would have it, but I would strongly recommend that this model review has to be followed in true letter and spirit so that we do not come on the wrong side of the approach.
Absolutely. I think whenever we talk about this theme of responsible AI, I think this movie of Iron Man, and I'm sure a lot of us have seen that, sort of comes to mind, where he loses control of his AI called Jarvis, and he goes rogue and really sort of sets on world destruction. If not controlled individually, collectively, while it has significant opportunity, it does have significant potential to be destructive as well. But I'll end out, three key themes at least I take away from the panel discussion. Number one, the opportunity is real, the opportunity is here. Of course, the extent to which individual institutions feel comfortable about leveraging AI today, I think potentially varies. Some much more internal, very confidently. External is still with some sort of trepidation and baby steps. But it'll continue to evolve, it'll continue to grow. Number two, on challenges, while there are some challenges on talent, but by and large seems like it's moving in the right direction. Regulations, data privacy, challenges with respect to sort of model behavior, hallucinations, all of those are real and will potentially continue to be real for some more time. And number three, I think right from a governance perspective, everybody does have their own governance framework, but potentially we don't know what we don't know. I think there are many unknown problems here, which we'll only sort of figure out as we sort of move forward collectively. But on that note, I think we are on time. Thank you to the panel members. Really appreciate the conversation, and I'm sure the group sort of took away a lot of learnings. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sirs, for the thought-provoking deliberation. May I request you to have a please group photograph, please. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to announce the lucky draw winners from each stall. To do the honors, I would like to invite on stage Shri Madhav Nair, Deputy Chairman, Indian Banks Association. Welcome, sir. I will now announce the booth names and lucky draw winners, and I request all booth personals to be ready with their bowl and all the winners to kindly come on stage to receive your prize with luck. From booth number 1, ISG,
Okay, the winner is P. Anup Kumar.
P. Anup Kumar, General Manager, Central Bank of India. Give a huge round of applause, please. From booth number 2, PwC. If the first winner is not here in this conference room, we'll be drawing the second card from that same bowl. Okay, there is, so anyone from Central Bank of India who can collect the gift on behalf of Shri P. Anup Kumar, General Manager from Central Bank of India.
Okay. Now the
I can see the luck, but I cannot see the lucky one. Booth number 2, PwC.
The winner is Mahesh Kishti from United Overseas Bank. United Overseas Bank.
Anyone from the United Overseas Bank?
Oh, we have given Central Bank already. Too many Central Bank cards. S. Sarvanan, Karur Vaisya Bank. Anyone from Karur Vaisya Bank? Okay, he will.
A huge round of applause, please. Booth number 3, Dynatrace.
Manish Sharma, Rajasthan Marudra Grameen Bank.
Booth number 4, TASIF.
Sushir Shukla, CRGB.
Spiridion Technologies. Sorry, booth number 5, Sciency.
Shri Kumar Mulacheri, Spiridion Technologies. Okay. You yourself got it.
Booth number 6, Spiridion Technologies.
I hope this time I don't get your name. Krishnan NS, Yes Bank. Anyone from Yes Bank? V. Shivakumar, City Union Bank.
Booth number 7, IBM.
Pradeep Srivastav, Bank of Maharashtra.
Booth number 8, Salesforce.
Ravi Shankar Sahu, Indian Overseas Bank.
Booth number 9, Next Census.
I'm picking up his name.
His own bowl of magic.
I think you guys have put in the maximum ones, yeah?
No, I even don't put one.
Chetan Suvarna, ISG. Anyone from ISG? So they missed their booth. They're also booth to this thing. E. Ratan Kumar, Central Bank of India.
Booth number 10, Inspira.
Jitendra Yadav, Union Bank of India.
2011 NESL.
Subramaniam MS, Ospin. Anyone from Ospin? Dilip Kumar Mata, Baroda, Rajasthan, RRB.
Booth number 12, ACOPS.
Oh, this is the smallest one. Huh? Yes. Arun Prasad, Bank of India.
Booth number 14, Angel Solutions. Yeah, these three booths are combined, so.
KP Shobharani, Telangana Gramina Bank. Yogesh Bhansali, UCO Bank. Anybody from UCO Bank can collect it on his behalf, please. Anybody from UCO Bank? There's no one from Vidyanand Patel, Union Bank of India.
Out of the lot, sir, I think you are the luckiest one. Congratulations to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With this, ladies and gentlemen, the journey of an enriching conference ends. Now my colleague, Ms. Pooja Singh, will take you on the breathtaking journey of this 19th annual banking citations ceremony. My best wishes to all the participating banks. We shall now take a very short tea break for 10 minutes and request you all to assemble back by 5:25 p.m. I'm sure you wouldn't want to miss this thrilling ceremony. Thank you so much.